another digital opponent.
Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit is on another 3-game win streak as they down another divisional opponent in the Buffalo Sabres.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Scotty, the Red Wings are yet again going streaking.
Yes, sir. What is that? 6 of our last 7?
Yeah, 6 of the last 7. Or is that
Not
6
bad.
of the last 5? Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
Yep, 6 of the last 5. You heard it here first, everybody. Brian Fisher, you can tag him on that report. 6 of our last 5, the Red Wings have won.
That's how good they are. They won one game twice.
Well, correct. Obviously we'll talk about it. A roller coaster of a game. This is one where the Wings got off to a crazy hot start and then let up the gas big time. We'll talk all about. We can kind of just go chronologically in the episode. We can do the same thing. We can just talk about all the good that happened early, and then as that faded, we can end the show kind of on the concerns still. But look, I know it's kind of like a cheesy quote, and like Dan Campbell says it all the time, but like we don't apologize for wins, man. Like this is a divisional opponent. This is a huge victory. And we're gonna celebrate 6 of our last 7 with again and another interdivision opponent win, because those add up quick, and those are games that like, you beat the Sabres in the end of March, and you go like, oh look, divisional win, and then you look back and you go, oh, I wish we had a couple more of those back in November, December. These add up quick, and I'm not gonna. There's plenty to poke at, and we'll certainly do that here as we always do. But I'm going to be pretty pleased with another win. The boys are streaking, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, you can honestly just kind of copy and paste our conversation from the Montreal game about this one. Like the way the Red Wings performed was nearly identical, and that starts with how they began, right? Coming out of the gate hot, which has been a trend all season. Even in the games where, even in the stretch rather, where they were, I harken back to it. I'm going to keep harkening back to it, where they were 3-5-3. They were coming out of the game hot, coming out of the gate hot rather, but they just weren't finding the back of the net. Well, now they are. They're literally second in the league in goals for. Now that could change depending on how many goals Colorado scored, because they are the one who you're competing with for second in the league. But even without that, you're first in Eastern Conference in goals for. This team scores. And they scored a lot in this game as well. That's another game where the Red Wings have scored 5+ goals. And it's just honestly kind of incredible at this point how much pressure they bring coming out of the gate. You look at the games that they've won since they've come back from Sweden. Hell, you can go back to before they were in Sweden, looking at some of the games there. Man. Like going back to the first Bruins game, right? Where they played a great complete game. They won 5-4. Then they scored 3 in that bad loss to the Rangers. They scored 2 against the Canadiens. Then they scored 5 against the Blue Jackets, 4 against the Senators in Sweden, just 2 against the Leafs. So a couple of the tougher teams are not scoring as many goals against. But then, boom, they hit this hot stretch. 4 against the Devils, 5 against the Bruins, 4 against the Wild, just 2 against the Rangers because, again, that was a tough game. You were without your captain. You lost was a Gostis Bear partway through the game, then 5 against the Blackhawks, 5 against the Canadiens, now 5 against the Sabres. This team finds the back of the net. And, a lot of that comes down to, again, we talk about it. This is the pros and the cons. The one thing this team's really good at is scoring off the rush and taking advantage of high-quality opportunities. They're not going to beat you at 5-on-5 in just pure shot attempts. That was another problem in this game. We'll talk about that when we talk about periods 2 and 3. But man, early on, they apply so much pressure, get so many good opportunities that it pays off early. They catch teams off guard. They punch them in the mouth. And like against the Canadiens, they got out to a quick, big lead. It was 4-0 before they finally let their first goal against. Maybe, four. I think it was 4-0.
Oh, it was tonight. It was 4-0.
4-0. Because the games are starting to blend together because they keep doing it. And in this one, it was again early. They applied the pressure. Raymond got the puck in the corner. He passed it. They thought maybe it hit the netting. They passed it to Larkin, who was sitting in the high slot. And whether or not that puck was off the ice or not, it's hard to tell. I still have not seen a definitive replay. It was still a great shot from Dylan Larkin to just, like I said, punch the Buffalo Sabres, who are, like we talked about last night, down real bad. They play bad defense. They don't have great goaltending. You're playing their backup, who's struggling right now. Their backup's backup in Eric Comrie. They didn't even play the one that's performing all right.
Yeah.
And you punched them in the mouth real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this probably isn't like a great thing, but like there's a lot of similarities in, well, maybe not a lot. There is one similarity that stood out to me when you were explaining the Red Wings and the rushes that they often go on and the fact that sometimes has led to let ups in the third because whatever, just not being able to consistently lay on that type of pressure for 60 minutes, whatever it may be. But that is very similar to the Buffalo Sabres. Like that, like if you watch that game, there was no set pieces. Like both teams, it was just rush. It was an incredibly high-paced game, and I would imagine that ESPN was loving it, especially when Buffalo came back at the end, especially, right? Like this was a high-pace, high-action, high-event hockey game, and the fact that the Red Wings want to limit those events, and that's something that you said earlier that I agreed with, whatever that was last week. We're like, the Wings are looking for low event hockey, and that is how they want to win, especially defensively. And in this game, they won a game. Yes, we'll get to the bad. They almost blew it, but like we're looking at it from a positive lens. They won a game where there was a lot of events. That this was a high event game on both sides, and the Wings came out on top against an inferior opponent. And I think that's, despite what happened later, we'll certainly complain about that in 10, 15, 20 minutes. But I think that it's important to remember 2 points is 2 points. And you, at one point you kind of were playing the Sabres style and you still held on.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right. There is a similarity there. I mean, if you're going to compare them, try to compare them one for one, the Red Wings actually defensively are a middle of the pack team. If you look at, it doesn't seem like it because by the end of the game, it feels like you're just on survival mode. Right. And that's kind of because they wait to package all their Corsi against until like the last period.
They gave up one shot in the first 10 minutes of this game, but then, you got absolutely crushed in the third. So,
but they're actually middle of the pack for shot attempts against overall against all teams. And then their Corsi 4 is a little bit lower, but their finishing is just so high. Yeah. The Buffalo Sabres have way worse defense, but way higher shot attempts. So like you're getting Buffalo Sabres-esque results while actually technically being a middle of the pack team defensively. But you're right. Like right now, you're looking and seeing a similarity between this Red Wings team and what the Sabres did last year. Now you want to avoid what's happening to the Sabres this year, not trying to look past the end of this season, but you don't want to.
They have a lot of injuries too. Like they talked about it on the broadcast. And we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. They're dealing with a lot of injuries and such too. But the goal is to have like a Buffalo offense with a sound defense, and that is like that's obviously what didn't happen with them last year. And this is not like a 1-for-1 comparison. It was strictly like that part just jumped out at me because this game was a lot of rush.
Ratings, darling, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I don't want to make it sound like I think these are like similar teams or anything. It was just strictly that part that kind of jumped out at me. But this was again, you got off to an early lead. There was a lot of great opportunities. I think first off, Larkin, obviously the one empty netter, the goal early, fantastic. And then he went to the locker room for a little bit. He did say himself after the game that he was okay. He just got hit in a weird spot. It missed the pads and got him flush, and he wasn't expecting to get hit from behind there. And so it sounds like he's okay, right? Played the rest of the game and whatnot. Definitely was moving a little gingerly there for a while, but that was great to see. Fabbri scores again. That was awesome to see. The power play, I guess we can talk about a little bit more in segment 2. Like it produced a little bit, but I don't think it was necessarily a juggernaut either. Kind of weird analysis there, but yeah, man, I really like the punch in the mouth early, because for a while it was the opposite, right? It was be down going into every single third, right? Like I think you texted me. Yeah, I think you texted me that what are we 7-0 now after leading after the first period?
Yeah, they showed that on the broadcast after the first intermission that the Wings were 6-0 if they go into the first intermission up.
Right. And like
so
for
now
a team that has won as many games as the Wings have won this year, the fact that we have only been leading after the first period 7 times on the year is like, I again, like early on in the season, it was the opposite. It was, okay, we're a horrible first period team, and then we score 5 goals in the third. And now lately it's been the opposite, where it's been, just like hot starts. They get off to a lot of pressure. They've gotten off to hot starts and then just have to like hang on at the end. And I'd really, really, really one of these days just love to see 3 periods of competitive hockey. I think that would do a lot for the mentals. But we'll take a win.
It's like we talked about when they were struggling to score that first goal. It's not that they weren't coming out and playing really good hockey. They just couldn't find the back of the net. And now they're finally getting those results. So they're succeeding in punching the other team in the mouth, which is nice to see.
100%.
We will be right back. And in segment 2, I want to give some praise to Robby Fabbri as well, as he scores his 8th goal. What is it? 11 points in 12 games for him now. Incredible. He stays hot. And then like Scotty says, we'll talk about the power play. We'll talk about Alex Lyon. Talk about the defense as a whole. And also, I need to rant about these hits from behind because they are driving me nuts. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Guys, if you're tired of just the crazy fees you receive when you try to buy your tickets from certain apps that shall not be named on this podcast, well, you got to check out Game Time. Because when you get Game Time and you use it to buy your tickets, you don't have those crazy fees. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know exactly what you're getting without the hidden fees, and you buy those tickets in 2 seconds with just 2 taps. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has flash deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. With zone deals, you pick the Game Time, or you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Also got to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. Now, Scotty, have I got something exciting for you today?
There's no chance this is exciting, but yes.
I did a same game parlay. Detroit Red Wings over 6.5 goals and the money line. Got plus 220 odds. Won $16 whole at FanDuel. So right now, new customers can get $150. Sorry?
I said straight to the wedding fund.
Absolutely. Straight to the wedding fund. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are breaking down the, 5-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. Big divisional 2 points. It actually launches the Red Wings into second in the Atlantic Division, by the way, surpassing the Buffalo Sabres. The Florida Panthers, rather.
I was going to say, that I don't believe.
That, I think you're just lying to my face. No,
well, Brian, really, the Sabres are apparently in the top of the division. We've won 5 or 6 of our last 5. We're really just on a roll here tonight.
Listen, man, it's late. I had a hockey game.
Late night shows. Red Wings after dark, baby. Let's go.
Red Wings after dark. It is past midnight right now. But yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about Robbie Fabbri too, because he stays absolutely hot.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
we've talked about him at length recently, right? Like there's not a whole lot extra add, but he's just he's been succeeding because he
He's
goes
just
to
the
the net
man.
and is there. He's there for
Yeah.
the puck and he buries it every single time. And that's why he's been having the success that he's been having. He's got 8 goals, 3 assists for 11 points in 12 games played with the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, we talked about it, right? When you talk about the middle six, this is a guy who brings you scoring and finishing ability that, well, I won't say otherwise they wouldn't have, because they have that in Perron and Sprong as well, and soon to be Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. But it's nice to have as much as possible when your team is as questionable defensively as the Red Wings are.
Yeah, man. No, and look, like this is for as much room as we still want this team to grow, and there's still so many things we point to and we want them to get better at, right? We've talked about the goaltending at length. We talk about the defense all the time. I'm sure we're about to here when we get into the not so great, but like the biggest thing we talked about last season was you need goal scoring, right? And it's hard not to just be happy for Fabbri, like personally, just with all of the injury stuff that he's gone through. And, you know, we still like don't really know what his peak production is when he plays a full season. And like the fact that obviously he's not like almost a goal a game player, but like to see him produce is just awesome personally. But on, you know, from a hockey perspective, just getting that depth goal scoring is so important, and it has been something that, again, we talked about at length last year. And we talked about the lack of high-end goal scoring. You tried to bring in, or you did bring in rather, DeBrincat to try and address that. That's obviously works pretty well. DeBrincat's had a nice season and is putting the puck in the back of the net. But the reason why this hasn't been a conversation this year is not because DeBrincat is scoring at a good clip. It's because Robbie Fabbri's scoring. It's because Perron is scoring. It's because JT Compher's been producing offensively, whether it's assists or with goals. It's because Daniel Sprong's been a good weapon down there. Like the depth scoring has improved so significantly, and Robbie Fabbri and like only rivals Joe Veleno as like maybe the biggest reason as to why the depth goal scoring has improved so much.
I mean, just to hammer home your point, in tonight's Red Wings game, 10 different players got points. 10. Andrew Kopp, Alex DeBrincat, Robbie Fabbri, Dylan Larkin, Perron, Rasmussen, Lucas Raymond, Gostis Bear, Petrie, and Mo Seider all got points in this game. I mean, it's the depth up and down the lineup. I mean, particularly the forward core, but, you know, not to get lost, the defense as well have been providing a ton of scoring. Like there's just this team, and that was a big thing that we talked about needing to be addressed, and Yzerman went out there and he addressed it. And this team's much better in that regard.
100%.
But where they're not a lot better is the defensive side of the puck. Yeah. And like, yeah, they're better than they were last year.
They might still be a lot better. If we're just comparing last year to this year, the last 2 years to this year, they can be bad and still not be.
I thought it was a smooth transition.
Still be a lot better than last year. Yeah.
I thought it was a smooth transition, but you're right.
It was. I just, you know, I live to make your transitions to poke holes in your plot. But
no, appreciate it. Yeah, so again, this is just another example, and I don't want to say the defense, as in like the defense, the players on the defense were bad. This is just another example of what we were talking about, right? Like the team comes out really strong, they come out very fast, they punch teams in the mouth, and then they get tired, and they get wore out, and they try to protect their lead, and they let teams back in it. And like, not to make excuses, right? But Buffalo is one of those teams you would expect to mount a comeback because they are very good offensively. They will, and they talked about it on the broadcast. They're a team that sacrifices defense for offense. They pinch. They challenge up top along the blue line so they can get those odd man rushes. So you almost, when the Buffalo Sabres come roaring back, you're like, okay, well, this is the Buffalo Sabres. You're going to get your odd man rushes going back the other way. And we did. I mean, Michael Rasmussen had a breakaway goal. Kopp almost had a breakaway. Sprong had a breakaway. Larkin, I think, had a breakaway. Like, you had your opportunities. But the fact of the matter is this isn't a one-time thing. Like, it just happened against the Montreal Canadiens. This team continually lets teams claw their way back in it. They get out to huge leads, and they just don't protect them because they either they wear out and get tired, or they just quit. And figuring out how to not do that is going to be the biggest thing this team's going to have to do outside of addressing the goaltending issues, although the goaltending issues seem to be kind of working themselves out, dare I say, at this point.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything else to add. I completely agree. I think that when I guess I'm just kind of reiterating earlier. So again, we don't have to spend too much time on it, but like the goal of a Lyon system is low event hockey. And again, this is a game that was very high event for both parties, but did not accomplish the low event part, especially in periods 2 and big time in period 3. So I think that just they need to find a balance between, like, everybody loves the get off to the early lead thing, but
It's fun.
right, it's awesome. And if you're able to hang on, obviously, then do it. But it can't consistently come at the expense of just treacherous thirds. And it's tough. Like, I'm trying to, in my head, I'm trying to figure out, like, what did I prefer when we were the worst first period team in hockey and then the best third period team in hockey? Or, like, do I prefer this? And I'd prefer, like, get off to early leads and try and hang on, because at least then you're guaranteed a lead at some point. And the fact of the matter is, that shouldn't have to be something you decide. That should be, like, we should work out the kinks strategically, right? Like, that falls on the Lyon to not make this a 2-period team and make it a 3-period team.
Yeah, I mean, we may win, but I may die. Like that.
Right.
that is watching the Red Wings hockey. Like you,
man. I got a bum ticker as is. Let's calm down maybe a little bit.
Like you made the reference to Dan Campbell earlier, but watching the Lions Sunday and then watching the Wings these last 2 games, it's like, oh my God, these teams are the same. Just high-powered offenses that just almost blow the game every single time because their defensive, and again, when I say defense, I don't mean the players defense. On defense. The team defense is just brutal at times. I mean, stop me if you've heard this before, right? The Red Wings, in a game where the shots totals ended up being fairly close, like really close in the end, got outshot attempted. The Sabres had 61% of the share of shot attempts and a 59% share of the unblocked shot attempts. Oh, but the Red Wings had a 52% share of the quality shot attempts. Like, they just continue to allow teams in the second half of games just absolutely hammer them in the offensive zone. And actually, and I talk about puck possession, right? Like, the first period, the Fabbri goal and the Dylan Larkin goal are great examples of what happens when you possess the puck. Neither of those goals happened off the rush. Both of those, especially the Fabbri goal, were sustained pressure.
Yeah.
Great passing between, I believe it was David Perron, Andrew Kopp, and Robbie Fabbri, tic-tac-toe to set up that goal. And that came off of sustained pressure where you wore them down. Moritz Seider's power play goal. Granted, that was a power play. You got to score with an extra man. Seider did great job multiple times keeping that puck in the zone. He's keeping that power play.
He might be the greatest of all time at keeping the puck in the zone. Like, he's unbelievably good at it.
But they had sustained pressure. They wore them down. They left Seider wide open all the time in the world to pick a shot. Got deflected, goal. 4 goals, by the way. He had 5 all of last year, so he's 1 off of his goal total from last year. 25 games in, so that's great to see. But I mean, it's the tales all the time. Like, again, this team gets shelled in the second half of the game, so they're forced to make a ton of block shots. Ben Sherratt, and I want to talk about. We got to get to a reprieve here soon. The team had 18 block shots, and Ben Sherratt had 6 of them. So we'll talk about that too in segment 3. But we got to take a break. So we'll return in segment 3. Stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed's employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Indeed knows that when you're growing your business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. You need Indeed, Need to hire, you need Indeed. That's how that ends.
Indeed you do.
Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I kind of got into the Sherratt Petrie conversation at the end of segment 2, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about Sherratt and Petrie, and particularly Sherratt, because, I mean, he continues to be one of those players that kind of baffles me. And he has had, and Prashant Iyer posted a nice graphic on Twitter earlier today.
Fantastic. Yeah, very cool.
That shows Ben Sherratt is having a really nice bounce back year metrically. But taking into account the fact that Ben Sherratt's also playing in a reduced role competition-wise. He's still getting a lot of minutes, to his credit. He played 22 minutes in this game as well. But now, consistently on the second pairing, he's going out there against competition that is more, I would argue, his speed. And I don't mean that in an insulting fashion, but he's not playing against the toughest competition other teams have to offer. He is consistently getting offensive zone starts, where Jake Wellman and Moritz Seider are getting consistently defensive zone starts. So he's having a nice bounce back year, but he's also been kind of gifted some good spots to be in as well. And I'm not trying to take away from things that he's doing on the ice, because in this game, he also had some really nice, and you pointed this out before we started recording, and so I'm going to steal your thunder here, Scotty, but he had some really nice poke checks. He really did.
Yeah.
He had a couple really nice hits, but he also made some really boneheaded plays, but he also blocked 6 shots. So he just continues to be an enigma in that, like, he'll go out there and he'll be a serviceable to good defenseman, but then he'll just do things that leave you scratching your head.
Ben Sherratt giveth and Ben Sherratt taketh away, baby. It's a tale as old as time. And I feel very similarly about just that pairing in
Jeff
general.
Petrie,
right? Like I feel pretty similarly about Petrie. Yeah, man, it's so wild. Like he was out there for a lot of shots. And again, like we talked about this before we hit record too. And he was out there for a lot of shots, and he took the high sticking penalty wasn't good and whatnot. But he also broke up like at least 4, maybe even more, like high danger opportunities, like after like clean zone entries from Buffalo. They get into the zone and Ben Sherratt's there to like save the day, and had a couple of really nice poke checks in this game and broke up some opportunities. He really is a giveth and taketh away kind of player. And I think that if you can get like around, league average, even like I'll even take slightly below league average, like with the leadership that everyone says he provides and whatnot, then like I'm not going to be too upset at the production. Obviously, we talk about the amount of time he's on the ice. I think in a perfect world, everybody would be okay if he, if you shaved 3 to 5 minutes off of that average ice time a night. But that's pretty dramatic. But like, you get my point. But I think that, I think that games like tonight, it perfectly kind of just highlight what his season has been this year. And I think that that's a massive upgrade over last year, where there wasn't too much giveth. It was most taketh away. And now we're at least talking about like, and I don't know if that's like deserves a victory lap. Like, I don't know if like some people, not sure everybody really cares about like, like sometimes he's better now, but like, I think it's worth noting. And I think that this game was kind of like the perfect epitome of this season so far, which has just been like, you see some good, you like what you see sometimes, and then you don't like what you see sometimes. And he's out there always pretty consistently for a lot of shots against. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the things that we noticed that were good, but at the same time, there's that really rough sequence in the third period where Jeff Petrie, I don't know how he didn't get a penalty on it, but he straight up just leveled the guy without the puck.
Yeah.
Like straight up just leveled him. And I'm like, how did he not get a penalty? Then Ben Sherratt comes over and high sticks the guy, gets the power play or gets the penalty. And then Jeff Skinner scores on the power play and make it 4-3. And so they do all these right things. And then they do stuff like that. And they're also, Ben Sherratt was out there for just 9 shot attempts for and 24 shot attempts against. And Petrie was out there for 12 shot attempts for and 25 shot attempts against. And he was worst on the team Sherratt rather was worse on the team in Corsi for and expected goals for percentage for quantity and quality of shot attempts against. He was the worst on the team, like at 27% for both. So it's like, Yeah, okay, it's great. You're blocking 6 shots. The same conversation we had with Jeff Petrie, which is why I don't understand why they're a pair. But it's great that you're out there laying your body on the line, and I love that you're willing to do that. And I thank you for blocking 6 shots to both these guys. But at the same time, being in a position to have to block all those shots means you're not doing the little things right to prevent zone entries and dig the puck out of the corners and
For
win
sure.
those battles and get
Zone
the
entry with
guys.
that pair is a huge problem.
And zone exit too, like
Mhm.
the breakout. And so, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. Like we just had this conversation, but it's just so frustrating because you watch the game and you see all the things they're doing well, and you look metrically across the season. And okay, you're seeing an upward trend compared to last year, at least with Ben Sherrod. Obviously, Petrie was a different team back then. But you look game to game and you're like, metrically, they're down there, but they're also putting their body on the line. And I respect the hell out of that. So they're just, like you said, giveth and taketh, giveth and taketh.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like they aren't the scapegoats of this game. Like the entire team defense was poor. I mean, one of the goals against, it might have been the first or second goal. One of the early twos was like Dylan Larkin just didn't clear the puck. He couldn't get the puck out of the zone. He just completely whiffed and led to a goal 2 seconds later. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, not trying to make them sound like the blown lead is like on that pair single handedly, but it's very much a give and take thing for sure. I thought Lyon was solid again. I think that he's been like a steady hand, like and I know his save percentage is otherworldly right now, and it's not going to sustain that high, but he just really gives off the impression so far. We'll see if he's able to continue it, of just being like, he does what you like. He does what he's supposed to do. Like, he's not going to single-handedly win you too many games. He's not going to be I'm putting the team on my back goalie. But he is going to keep you in games. And I think we're all just begging for at least one of those. So I think that we'll take it. And I hope he continues to get playing time.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was fantastic again in this game. Obviously 3 goals against and 32 shots. You don't look at that and you go, oh wow, he was, the best goalie ever. But that's still a .906 save percentage. He was very steady. You look at the goals he gave up. There's not one of those where I was like, he should have had that. I thought he was just incredibly steady for this hockey team. And that is what this team needs, like without a doubt. So I'm very pleased with his play. I hope he gets more looks. And I guess the last thing I'll say, overall, it sounds maybe like I was ragging on. I don't want to make it sound like this defense is as bad as it was last year, because it is significantly better. It's just one of those things that we still has room for improvement.
Well, I mean, what I said, I was like, it was only half a joke. Like what I said, right? Like you can be way better than last year's team defensively and still have a lot of room to grow. Like that's where they're at. And that's, we'll take it. We'll take the step in the right direction, but still room to grow. That's all. The only other thing that really bothered me in this game was just, I don't know if I've ever seen a team consistently
hit from behind.
No, but yes. I don't think I've ever seen a team consistently get so many penalties in crucial situations in my entire life. It's mind-boggling. They play a clean 50 minutes, and then in every single high tension crucial situation, they're a man short for all of it. And it's
a goal with 2 minutes left, and you take a high sticking penalty, or you ice it out over the glass.
It is mind-boggling how consistently they do it in high-pressure situations. It is almost every game where it's close in the third, or there's a huge opportunity at the end of the second, or whatever. It's staggering. And this, again, was the poster child for that. This was a great example of that. A ton of just awfully timed penalties for the Red Wings.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the hits from behind keep coming, and there's continually no calls on it. And I don't know what this team has to do,
dude,
to get a boarding.
I don't know. The Fabbri one is mind numbing. That is if you were to in ref school, when you look up, like, what is boarding? That's the play they show. Like, that is it.
See, I would almost say that the Larkin one was worse because the Fabbri one, you can at least be like, okay, the hit was coming and at the last second Fabbri turn. Not trying to make an argument, but the Larkin
his
one,
face went first into the glass. No,
I know, but I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying by comparison, I think the Larkin one was worse because Larkin
that was
straight up
numbers.
standing there.
Yeah, that was numbers.
That was numbers. Like the guy came from behind while Larkin was facing away and hit him. The
Yeah.
Fabbri one, I can understand, not that I agree with, it was still hit from behind, but I can see where a ref would be like, you turned last second and the hit was already coming. Not that excuses it, it's still a penalty. But with the Larkin one, like the full time, he was just facing away and the guy comes up and shoves him. And it's even more dangerous because he's a foot or two away from the boards. So if you are that far away when you get shoved from behind, that's how you go, I don't know, shoulder first in the boards. And then you have a shoulder that just pops out of its socket every single game you play. But that might be a little bit more personal. It may or may not have happened to me.
15 times in the last 2 months.
Yeah. Two game streak where it stayed in though. So we're raise the roof, baby. The roof is on fire. Anyways, Red Wings, winners of 3 straight, winners of 6 of their last 5, according to me.
6 of their last 5, baby.
But no, seriously, 6 of their last 7. They, despite the heart attack they gave you at the end of the game, they're scoring a lot of goals. They're winning games. They're second in the Atlantic Division, 14-7-3. I think that's what, 31 points on the season now. Just
higher percent chance to make the postseason than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
On pace for over 100 points. So
right,
enjoy.
Calm down. I'm gonna get too excited. We need to calm down. Not a 100-point team. We need to calm down. I need to ground myself. A lot of dumb penalties. Defense needs to get better. All right, let's end the show.
Well, that's what I like about us, Scotty, is we can enjoy it, but we can also understand and that there's still room for improvement if this team wants to be for real.
Big time.
And that's why I love you.
I love you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. And that's a sappy note to end it on. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, previewing the game against the San Jose Sharks at LCA. Perhaps Patrick Kane's first game as a Red Wing. We'll see. Stay tuned to Lockdown Red Wings. Same time, same place. Your team every day.
Every day.